Alright, hey everybody! So today I'm going to be talking about CEOs and their pay. If you keep seeing me looking over here, that's where my laptop is sitting with my notes. So currently CEOs are being paid an astronomical amount of money. It's important that we realize that they need to take a pay cut. The ratio of the CEO to the average worker continues to increase as the middle class and the poor continue to struggle because their pay increases at such a slow rate that it is not keeping up with the cost of living. As what is considered to be part of a middle class family, my husband and I both work full-time, but there are times when we struggle to make ends meet. So to start off, I'd like to talk about fair compensation. So what should fair compensation look like? Well, that is something that is an extremely hard thing to define. One thing I can say for certain is that fair compensation is not always something that is seen as common practice. And how is this related to employee pay? Well, employees need to be paid at a rate that is justifiable in comparison with their skills and experiences. And with the increase of skills and experiences should come an increase in pay. As an example, the company that I work for starts their teacher assistants off as either qualified or highly qualified. There is a difference in pay by a few bucks an hour, and then going on from there, teachers tend to make about double the salary of assistants, and then the pay increases from there with the increase of responsibility becomes an increase in pay. The pay is essentially fair in comparison to what everyone else in the company that I work for is making. Whether or not teachers make a good amount of money is another debate. So when we look at CEOs and the pay of those in charge of companies, there should be some sort of regulation to how much these people are able to earn, especially in relation to what their workers are earning. So by doing some research, you can see that the amount of money that CEOs are making is unjustifiable. The pay gap between the average worker and the CEO is continually increasing. So I have this right here. This is a graph, and it comes from hbr.org. The title is "How Much More Should CEOs Make?" This is the ideal pay ratios of CEOs to unskilled workers. So in the red, this is what the CEOs are actually making. Around the circle are all different countries, and what they have here in the blue is what is considered to be the ideal rate for all of these countries. The US is this one right here. So this is what CEOs in the United States are making. This is what this graph is saying the ideal rate should be. So you can see that there is a difference, especially between what they're actually making and what is considered to be the ideal rate. So some people will say that the high pay of a CEO is going to encourage charismatic leaders. But if you look at history, a charismatic leader is not necessarily a good or an ethical leader, and that is what is most important for running a company. You want someone running your company that is ethical and has good leadership practices. A CEO does have a higher involvement in the company, and they do deserve to be paid more. But how much is too much? There should be some type of regulation in regards to how much money they're able to make. You also have to consider in the fact that the CEOs that are giving back and putting back into the company, which is not always the case. So moving on to what role do CEOs have in relationship to the company and the board of directors? So like I've already said, CEOs do have a higher involvement in the company. As far as their relation to the board of directors is usually hands-off, and they rubber stamp policies without necessarily looking at everything that they entail. And it should change. The board of directors needs to be more involved in signing off with what the CEO presents to them. And why do I think this? Well, policies and suggestions that are made by CEOs need to be reviewed more in depth. How much are the board of directors really looking into what they're presented? Now we're going to move on to how can CEOs set the tone for corporate values, diversity, and decision making. So CEOs are often seen as the face of the company, and it is up to them to set the tone and the values for the company. They need to encourage diversity and make fair decisions. And why should they be responsible for this? Well, CEOs are being paid more than any other employee that is working at a particular company. It is up to them to encourage ethical behavior by example. Employees should also make every effort to act ethically. Employees are an essential part of a company. The CEOs may be in charge, but it's their employees that are dealing with things on a daily, regular basis. The employees should believe in and follow the vision of the company that they work for. So as far as some of the big important issues that CEOs face, CEOs are responsible for making big decisions, ethical choices, and making sure that their employees follow accordingly. They are in charge, and according to virtue ethics, talent, especially of the employees that are working under them, is something that needs to be nurtured, and to refuse to do so is unethical. Business and ethics go hand in hand. Make the wrong choices and the company is seen as unethical. Make the right choices and the support and business will continue to grow. As an example, in the Tylenol case, where there was cyanide found in Tylenol capsules, Johnson & Johnson made the ethical choice in how they dealt with their crisis, and their business actually improved. As another example, Coca-Cola in the Belgium case of 1999 waited too long to make statements and were not clear in the crisis when they were dealing with the public. And Coke suffered the repercussions by being banned in several countries, and they lost a good amount of money of it as a result. Both of these examples fell on the CEOs and how they handled their crisis situations. So in conclusion, to wrap it up, CEOs are making far too much money, and it is something that we should act on. Something needs to be done to ensure fair compensation for everyone, including the poor and the middle class, as well as including cost of living into the equation there. Society is obsessed with money and celebrity status. Because it is seen as something that is unattainable, fair compensation and a cap on the rates of the CEOs can make pay and wealth seem something that is more attainable for the average worker and average person. And that's it.